What's next for alt season? Does Trump really want to ground him? Ethereum, Solana, Sonic, also known as Old Phantom XRP. Coin analyses at your request, analysis of entry points for these coins. Is it still worth it, and when should you sell? When to come to break even, how to behave on the charts now, what to buy and when to sell it, to maximize profit and minimize potential losses. So, my dears, this is a chart episode. I warmly invite you to watch, so let's not delay any longer. My dear friends, we'll start with the first chart, which will be Ethereum to Bitcoin, because the next one will be Ethereum, the chart you strongly requested. Namely, at this point it looks downright tragic. We broke below 786, which is measured from the entire swing from the all-time low to the current all-time high. It's not good news for us, even though we're still in the channel range. It's not good news for us that we're collecting such low values. The value of Ethereum compared to Bitcoin. This isn't good for us, especially considering the potential alt season and the possible pump on ETH that everyone is waiting for to reach those famous $6,000. As I said, the ones that everyone is talking about, but I'll show that on the chart in a moment. The only good sign here is that it's forming on the weekly chart. This is a hammer candle, which could signal a rebound and an attempt to return to the 0.59 zone. By the way, we have quite a big imbalance here, so we'll see how Ethereum behaves. It's performing... Unfortunately, it's still weak. Despite the shilling by Donald Trump's son, it doesn't look good. And if we take a look at the standard Ethereum chart, one could say that we had a beautiful test here. Listen, the zones I've mentioned in many previous episodes. By the way, I entered at $2,300 for the spot swing. We took the entire point of control and the global value area high, which is a very strong zone. Of course, breaking below, we perfectly tested the last major swing low in this cluster that we see here. So, what's the plan now for this? Ethereum, personally, right here in this zone of trying to bounce back, I will be selling 50%. In fact, this will be done today. 50% of the position will be sold. I'll keep the rest for a potential return to the value area high of this cluster, of course. We'll see how that goes. This is strictly a spot swing, so I don't have to worry too much about it. So, I'll hold on to this swing a bit longer. However, if someone wanted to look at this a bit more locally, listen, I'm personally standing a bit on the sidelines right now, watching what decision is being made here. What's supposed to happen here? Of course, the whole market is bullish. As I see it, still bullish. I'm never biased, neither bullish nor bearish, and I recommend the same to you. I recommend it because it's simply better to have two scenarios. What will happen if it goes up? What will I do? And what will I do if it goes down? How will I behave? What scenario I will have for that long or short term? It would be best if we could get back to the zone of $3,500. Maybe we could try to make a small short here, but it would be very risky. At this moment, we got, let's say, some kind of supposed overbalance, because there's no visible overbalance here. So now we should technically maintain the entire upward system on this Ethereum. Break, $4,100. And now, my dear friends, I'm not saying that Ethereum, it can't reach $6,000, because I consider it a very likely scenario. I see it as a very possible scenario that we will indeed reach those 6,000, even looking at how strongly this Ethereum is being supported. So, my dear friends, do we have a continuation of the bull market, and will this bull market continue? And some are asking, when will the bull market be? No, unfortunately, the bull market has been since January 2023. Will there be an alt season? Nobody knows that. The market is damn diluted. Many altcoins have actually already done their thing since January 2023. All-time high. I'm talking more about those increases at the level of 10x, so you just had to take profits and secure your positions. Will there be a continuation now? Bull market? I don't know. I personally hold on to my holdings. I believe that we could have a few more months of nice gains ahead of us. If the whole situation in the United States gets sorted out and Trump actually wants to take action with these cryptocurrencies, just like he promised. So now, my dear friends, we just need to be prepared for possible scenarios. So, let's move on. Let's move on to Solana. Let's take a look at the weekly chart to see how the situation looks here. Or on a one-day trip, it will be a little more visible. Listen, we had this dump, of course, everything flew, not everything caught on its zones, some yes, some no. I had my buying zone on Solana around 166.6, reticulated to the red zone for a possible irregular correction. It was not filled, quite an interesting move. So, I'm currently not holding a position in Solana here. In case you are wondering how to potentially enter a long position, I think around 160, 100, let's say $70. This is a good place to try to catch Solana for a potential continuation of the upward trend, because even if we get an overbalance here, we usually have an attempt to bounce back after that. And such an attempt to bounce back to those $220 could happen, so it would be worth it. So that if you set up long positions here, you should just take profits on the way to around $200, $220. They were moving to break even, because if we aren't going to have a continuation of the upward trend in that bull market, we could simply see deeper corrections. And it would be a shame for your stop losses to get hit, so be very careful about that. When it comes to shorts, I'll be honest with you, shorting altcoins, at this moment I'm not saying no. But not on any loved ones, in local zones, because that would just be too risky. I would rather wait for those main levels. So for example, a short here, I have a limit at around $260 something. And from there you could try to short on the breakout of the ATH. What if it breaks and surpasses us? ATH. Then we will know that we want to have salting, for example, continuation of growth. And there's no point in just grabbing that short. Remember that an essential part of trading, just like making money, is also losing. Our task is to make those losses as small as possible, so that stop losses are actually triggered in those sensible places, and not set huzia on yuzio. And remember about the capital risk, a maximum of 2% on your stop loss, because otherwise you'll get liquidated. Otherwise you'll be losing your deposits at a terrifying rate. So here on Solana, now if we just take a quick look at the situation locally, and on Solana, and not just there, because on all those coins that took a strong dump, I believe there's a chance to improve that liquidity. I'm not saying to take the whole wick from every altcoin that has corrected strongly, because practically the whole market has corrected. We should at least test those 50%, meaning if we were to see a drop on Solana to $183, in my opinion, we could be interested in some local long positions. However, looking at the price action here, seeing that we have an attempt to bounce off these levels, you need to pay attention to the volume. If the volume starts to show up here, because right now there's none at all, despite that small increase, for example on Solana, if the volume starts to appear, it could mean that we won't correct anymore. We won't improve that liquidity, and we'll just start breaking out from here. $243, then $263 on Solana, where those will be the levels for possibly taking your profits or considering. Could a market reversal appear here? My dear friends, let's move on to Tau. We did our last analysis during a live trading session on YouTube, so I might continue the topic here, so to speak. If you listen, we'll break through. Actually, we've entered the zone. If we break through here, we'll try to drop below, but we'll stay above the candle closes at $370. I think I'll be trying to get some small longs. Let's focus on Tau, just to try to range this whole channel, even below $750. So probably when I finish recording this episode for you, I might just get into a small position here. That's because we actually have a resistance to support flip, which you can't say that it was broken and held, because it will depend on how this daily candle closes. Hopefully it closes in the zone or above the zone, then it will not be a bad sign for us at all. So I will personally try, maybe even catch a long position here, even with a deep stop loss below the last wick, because it's quite a deep drop. We could try to do it that way. When it comes to Tau, it looks quite interesting. The chart isn't bad at all. We only broke out once. All-time low. Here we had a return to the upward trend. You can't say that we currently have a continuation of the downward trend, because this consolidation is being maintained. So I would look at Tau in a more positive light. To be honest, I see the possibility, if we actually have a good situation in the altcoin market, of a return of even 100% of the base move on Tau. Of course, remember to use partial take profits. If you enter a position here, that's 1, 2, 3, take profits, meaning around 486, around 567, and of course around $712. I would suggest taking profits, and after the first take profit, if you're not sure, move to break even to secure your position. And even in the situation of a drop again, your stop loss being hit, you won't be at a loss, you'll already be in profit. Of course, some traders move to break even after the first take profits, while some don't. You can leave it. Actually, if that's what you want, it really depends on your methodology. However, in my humble opinion, Tau looks pretty good. The only thing is, it would be good if we had an actual return so that you could look at this downward impulse here, because there is quite a strong fair value gap that has formed. What if we take a look at the interval? In the 7-hour chart, cause we can see that some volume has come in here, so there could be a situation where actually 50% of that downward move is probably somewhere around $512. We might have some reaction, and I'm saying this so you don't get scared that we'll get here and then just drop. Reversal. So that's why we take partial take profits, to secure ourselves just in case. However, I think that this fair value gap isn't that strong to bring the price back down below the red zone, so we just need to keep an eye on it. For now, I'll just hint at the end. I'm not entering anymore. I'm waiting to see how the candle wants to close on the intervals. 4 7-hour charts, but what I'm really most interested in is the daily chart. Besides that, as you know, volume is king. If we're going to have further increases, then volume needs to come in. We won't get any increases, we won't get a return to our levels. If we don't see it, volume on the chart. Again, if we were getting increases without volume, i.e. empty increases pushed by the street, it could also be a not so good sign, as if it were a fake out, i.e. if we were to actually get some upward movement from here, the volume would not appear to us. I wouldn't get too excited about it. That we're returning to increases. Well, my friends, the lately unpopular yet still liked by me Sonic, which is S to USDC, meaning the old phantom. Of course, I'm repeating this once again. When we look at this chart from the perspective of strictly rebranding, that Sonic has already transformed, well, it obviously looks terrible. However, we would need to pull up the chart for a moment, unfortunately of poor quality. However, as such, we have the preserved old phantom chart where we now have a price of $44. We can see that these are the areas 131 extension. We are maintaining here on this block order on this liquidity that has been created, so although we still have some bastion here, not the last one, because the last one is around 35 cents and we have to maintain it so as not to have an attempt to mint a new one. All-time low. I have my bullish stop set for Sonic around 30 cents, where I entered at around 20 cents. To take at least 50% of the base movement profit from this project, in my opinion, it is not at risk. This is just my subjective opinion. I believe that it caused many situations. That Sonic simply dropped more than other coins, for example, the rebranding, which I think was done in a very poor way. As for Sonic, I like it, but I have to say they just didn't succeed. Did I buy more? Yes, I bought more Sonic, so in my opinion the areas around 45 cents, if someone obviously believes in this project, aren't that bad. However, I would wait a bit longer before making any decisions about getting into this project. Just how will the volume appear? Because for now it doesn't exist. So, in my opinion, getting in now, in places where there are no volumes on these charts, it's just quite mediocre. Of course, around 57-60 cents would be a good point to take some profits. If you make a spot swing here or something like that, with the knot you already have, I would suggest taking profits around 57 cents because we don't know what will happen next. The crypto market is unfortunately unpredictable. So our task, I repeat once again, it's about predicting, or rather assuming the worst and being prepared. In terms of stop losses, in terms of managing our, capital. So Sonic is still okay for me. Of course he performs terribly, there's nothing to talk about here. Even though I like it and I'm holding a large amount of it, it's obviously behaving terribly. But that doesn't mean it won't bounce back. Remember how Sonic looked recently when it actually had dumps too, but it was the first to recover. Really. With a strong kick, so here, if they don't neglect, so to speak, marketing and activities on this chain, well, that should be everything. Okay? My dear friends, let's move on to XRP. Well, here's someone as they had. Anyone who set their orders around the last main swing low, which is 1.90, should be very, very happy right now because they would have a 30% move in their favor, and that would be a really, really good result. At this moment, as for XRP, well, we've broken out of that downward channel. So it's hard to say whether we will want to continue the upward trend. I believe that right now we might experience a slight stall in the market, just moving sideways, some consolidation with small liquidity pulls, up and down but gently without any clear decision. So here I'll repeat once again, our task right now is to closely monitor the volume, which might give us a signal that if it appears we simply need to enter positions and wait for a breakout. New ATH. If I were to look locally at XRP, well, the chart looks funny, very much like it's crying, so to speak. At this moment, if I were to enter a position locally, I think I would wait for a test around 2.26. In my opinion, this could happen. There's a lot of liquidity here. Looking back at the chart, even in this horizontal version, I'd say if we take this local low, here, we can see that we are still below. Unshared video up. Let's throw in a bit from the previous one and see how it looks. And here we have a pretty nice band forming, which was respected earlier. We'll leave it at that. I believe that even a lower drop, pulling liquidity below that unshared video up down to that level that I mentioned to you earlier, is possible. Let's just take a quick look. Volume profile. Everything in this cluster has already fallen apart, so it doesn't look that great. And if we take strictly the whole cluster from the all-time high, the point of control connects with the unshared VBU app, and I'll also check one more level, namely a pretty quick one. And here we have the second point of control, which comes from the all-time high and all-time low right here. From this consolidation, these two connect very nicely. Listen, volume profiles, so here actually, if I had to wonder, it's the surroundings. Exactly 1.41 with liquidity extended to 1.34 would be quite an interesting point for a possible entry into XRP, but remember that we are now looking at these levels. That doesn't mean we have to enter at these levels. We need to update this because if the situation can change dynamically here, we'll have to watch how the price action looks in these areas. What does the volume look like in these areas? Because it's not said that we won't visit and improve. Value area high. The whole cluster around 2.09, so it would be a shame to enter at too high valuations on this XRP for no reason. However, looking at this, we are still waiting for Trump's decision and what he's up to there. It might turn out that this market actually comes back. I wouldn't count on it definitely continuing. Alt season, I would have it in the back of my mind, but I would also have it in the back of my mind that these could be the last gasps of the current crypto market. I don't want to scare everyone, because that's not my job, but my job is to remind you that the market can play tricks, so that there won't be any crying and losses in your wallet later. Minus 90%. Listen, let's move on to Sui coin, which I would also like to have in my wallet. Unfortunately, not. I managed to get my order around 2.22, but we didn't drop that low. However, I also see an improvement for SUI and a drop even to 3.08. Currently, there's an improvement in the liquidity of this coin, which has really cleared the market. I'm even saying it might drop to 2.87, which is the 1.382 extension of the entire impulsive move here. So at this moment, we have a time when the market is actually building itself up. Essentially, the market is establishing balance just like we had strong increases before. So now they are just being balanced out. Through this shaking out of traders who were locking in their positions or making purchases here. In the spot market, when it comes to SUI, I still maintain that I want to make purchases around 2.18. Here are the zones below that I would be interested in. That's only at 140, so here we can calmly use the dollar cost average method or DCA. If someone still believes in the bull market and wants to buy it on the spot, then I think it will be interesting. Good levels, and when it comes to the futures market, remember that in such a volatile market, I tend to play it very safe. I usually lock in positions from more abstract levels. However, now we have a slight relaxation. There might be this temporary consolidation, so here in the futures market, that yellow zone around 2.20, 2.12 will be a zone for me to grab some SUI, whether in my personal portfolio or in my experimental portfolio. And the experimental portfolio, my dears, look, the summer varies with 50% in the plus, 100% in the plus, currently at 16%. But see how important it is to take profits because we realized profits, meaning we sold the coins and rolled them over. I sold high and bought back cheaper at the level of $1,700. This is the experimental portfolio into which we've been putting $1,000 for the past few months. However, at this moment, the unrealized profit, meaning our portfolio, would be at a level of minus $540. However, it's still up by $1,200, which is that 16% because we were taking partial profits from the position. So really, that's with such a large diversification of the portfolio, where most of them are actually in the red right now. We are still in the plus. And this is what I teach you on Discord, which is the skillful management of your portfolio, skillful diversification, where in a situation when the market turns upside down, most of your projects are in the red and you are still in the plus because you skillfully realized profits and bought back your holdings simply at lower prices. This is an experiment that we started in the middle of the whole cycle, in the middle of the whole movement. In a bull market, you can really make a profit. Even entering in the middle of a bull market, you just have to do it skillfully. And listen, when it comes to Jupiter, it beautifully gathered our liquidity, where I, mainly use liquidity. My entire methodology is actually based on liquidity on the chart. In volume, order blocks main, volume, zones. So we beautifully took liquidity here from around 79 cents. Personally, I think we could improve it even to the level of 85 cents. On Jupiter, when it comes to spot, right now I'm not getting in. It's obviously in my experimental portfolio, but I won't be using it on my private Jupiter. I will definitely be trading it very actively in the futures market. If we manage to drop to around 80 cents plus or minus, I will be locking in my positions in the futures market, of course long, because I believe that altcoins are in such a place that going short on them would be super, super risky, and I would even say irresponsible. By the way, in this market, shorts on Bitcoin are definitely a thing. But rather, when it comes to altcoins, I'm just trying to catch longs. And of course, with Jupiter, later, if we wanted to sell, we have a few levels here if we manage to catch it. Around 80, then 93, 104, and here around 120, as such profits for your positions. Also remember that, also about moving to break-even. Algorand, listen, we've talked about it many times. Around here, 28 cents, I said it would be a good place for the first DCA if someone doesn't have Algorand. If someone wanted to make purchases here at the optimal trade entry, the previous one, which was a fantastic zone, they probably wouldn't have made it in time. Because we only tapped it, so there probably wouldn't be any liquidity for those purchases. Personally, when it comes to the futures market, I'm waiting for a drop to 26 cents, and that's where I'll try to catch it. Longs when it comes to the spot for Algorand. I have a lot still in the plus because I bought it here during this consolidation in my private portfolio, so at this moment we have two options. Or there will be a lack of volume, and a continuation of the correction of this wick down to around 25-26 cents. And if we hold here, there will be this internal, let's say, consolidation, just like we see on the 2-hour interval. And we won't want to break significantly below the green zone. It could be a great opportunity for those going long and making a very good swing. Because here actually, if you wanted to, you could easily make such a trade from this green zone, in my opinion, with a risk-reward ratio of 6-1, or actually 5.5-1. And I think that even after the episode, I'll analyze how the volume looks. I think we need to keep an eye on it today. If any volume comes in, I might try to lock in a long position here with a potential return to 50 cents, and of course the first take profit, around 40 cents. And that will be my setup, which I will probably set up after the episode. My dears, quickly, when it comes to CAS, I'm currently stepping back from trading and buying CAS because we've dropped below all my main liquidity zones. At this moment, I'm watching. Only if we had a return to around 11.5 cents would I be interested in that coin again. For now, I don't want to say too much here, because it doesn't look good. We've really dropped very low, so I'm currently stepping back from CAS. And my dear ones, that's the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next episodes. I sincerely thank you for that and remind you to join the Discord because it's free, and if you want to use the Patron Zone on Discord, you have the instructions to get lifetime access and to take advantage of all the live sessions, daily analyses, daily live trading, and together with our traders work, try to earn, and at the same time learn. So thank you very much. Thank you for the time you dedicated to this episode. See you next time.